I was ready to sing Ty Chandler's praises, man, reacting to last night's preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks and say that Ty Chandler, it's his time. He is the RB2. It's his job to lose. And that was up until right before I was about to start, it came out that per Tom Pelissero, the Minnesota Vikings are meeting with free agent running back Kareem Hunt today. To which my response is, why, man? Do we really need him? And don't get me wrong, he's a very good player, did a fine job backing up Nick Chubb the last couple of years in Cleveland, 4.5 yards per carry for his career. He would be nice. But with $10.6 million in cap space available, you have more pressing needs, particularly on the offensive line. I'm sick and tired of talking about this damn offensive line, bro. But Dalton Risner is going to swing the pendulum more for this team than adding, say, Kareem Hunt. Now, if you want to add both of those guys, go ahead and do it. But this offensive line, we'll talk about Ed Ingram in just a second. You need Dalton Risner. Not even that. Going back to the start of free agency, Isaac Seumalo, the free agent guard from Philadelphia, was right there. And there was, shockingly enough, there was no bidding war for him. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Seumalo did. This year, he counts $3.6 million against the cap, and the Steelers have an out after the 2023 season. He was right there. Just imagine if the Vikings signed Seumalo and they went ahead and also added Dalton Risner as well. But getting back to Hunt, do you really want to get into a bidding war between the Indianapolis Colts and the New Orleans Saints? I just don't think it would be a nice addition on paper anyway, but it just doesn't, for me, it doesn't really move the needle as far as the team getting better or worse. But at any rate, reacting to yesterday's preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks, first the good. Multiple looks from the Brian Flores defense to start the game. Blitz packages, stunts, and that's the vanilla style of defense, what we're going to see the rest of this preseason. Just imagine what that's going to look like with the ones, with Byron Murphy Jr., with Brian Asamoah, Harrison Smith, Harrison Phillips in regular season games where the games actually count. Wow. They created so many opportunities, specifically the defensive line, to where all you needed was the back end to clean up plays. We'll talk about that more later. But Luigi Villain, Kairis Tonga, they had themselves a game. Juwan Williams, a nice pass breakup in the end zone. Just a beautiful extension of the body and arm. Just a great play. Jalen Williams, he had himself an interception. And Ivan Pace Jr., bro, this dude wreaked havoc stuffing the run last night. And the unofficial depth chart has him being right now the backup to the backup. That's not going to happen. Worst case, he's going to be the immediate backup. But if you can rely on him along with his pass rushing capabilities, if you can also rely on him to be a huge force against the run, the idea of starting him is starting to get tempting, for me anyway. You could have Jordan Hicks be the backup to Ivan Pace Jr., and then let's say on downs where, okay, the opposing offense, they bring in an extra blocker. They're starting to get privy to Ivan Pace Jr. rushing the passer, so it's going to be an obvious passing down. Okay, if you want to go 3 safety sets, go ahead and take out Pace Jr. and bring in Josh Metellus to play alongside Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith. There are so many different ways that you can attack this that either way, I want to see more of that next week against the Tennessee Titans. The offense really started to get things going at the start of the second quarter. That led to the Nick Muse touchdown. Ty Chandler, talked about him earlier. He was very effective both on the ground and in the passing game. I was ready to give him the keys to the RB2 job, but now we're talking about Kareem Hunt. We'll see what happens with that. And Jaren Hall. I am on the record saying that all I care about. My floor for this guy against Seattle is I just want to see flashes. Just, is there something there? To me, yes, there is. We saw his ability with his footwork to extend plays when the pressure is mounting, and he had no offensive line worth a damn. That third string offensive line, oh my goodness. But he was able to extend plays, keep plays alive, and when necessary, he can stand strong in the pocket. So I think this was, I can't remember if this was midway through the third, maybe beginning of the fourth, but the pressure was coming, stood strong in the pocket, and delivered a 16-yard pass to N'Keal Harry towards the sidelines. Very, very impressive. And now the bad. I talked about how the Vikings, when they went down to their third string O-line, they were very unproductive. That's being very generous. But the opposite is true. Seattle, they had to go down to their third string O-line as well, and they dominated. I talked about earlier how the way that Brian Flores' defense started with that second team defense, that the defensive line, they created opportunities for the back end players to simply finish plays. Well, as the game went on, the defense was shot. Seattle countered the pressure with a quick passing game, and it really worked for them. Andrew Booth Jr. gave up a 19-yard touchdown pass. Lewis Cine, poor tackling mechanics. He got truck stick twice. This is a former first-round pick we're talking about here. How long are we going to protect this guy? How long are we going to treat Lewis Cine with kid gloves? Well, you got to remember he missed the last 14 games of last season. He was hurt. It was a freak injury. Yes, it was, but before he got hurt, he was primarily a gunner on special teams. A first-round safety? How long are we going to protect this guy? Is the cause of him, Lewis Cine, having poor tackling mechanics, is the cause of that the 14 games he missed last year? No, absolutely not. How much longer are we going? I'm not saying that he's a bust, and I'm not saying that, all right, the sky is falling on this guy because he still has time. But if you're not concerned about this, I don't know what to tell you. Are we trying to protect Kwesi Adofo-Mensah in that first draft class? You traded down 20 spots, basically what you got in return, trading a 2017 Ford F-150. You got in return a 1993 Geo Prism. So far, based on what we're seeing. How long are we going to sit here and defend this, man? Why? Because he has an extensive vocabulary, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, because he uses big words to sweet talk his way out of stuff? He's got to hit, man. He has to show something. That was a disaster of a game last night. And Ed Ingram, man, where do you even start? Run blocking was, I would actually say, A-okay. But then there were a couple of pass blocking snaps, two in particular, that had me sitting here saying, yeah, what the hell are we doing right now? And this was on the same drive. This was in the first quarter. 2nd and 6. The first pass blocking snap that I noticed, this man, I don't know who he was guarding, but whoever his man was beat him without any sort of resistance. Ed Ingram didn't even turn his head back. He was just like, oh, that's crazy, and just kept looking forward. Luckily, Nick Mullins got the pass off in time despite the hit off to Ty Chandler. Later on in that drive, this man, Ed Ingram, fell on his butt. Basically, it looked like he did a split. Technically, he didn't give up pressure, but we're talking about him going up against a second team defense, right? Against a first team defensive tackle, let's say Eric Armstead or Jalen Carter or Fletcher Cox, any of those players, any of the elite defensive tackles in the league, that's going to be a sack. He was bad last night, Ed Ingram. That's true. However, here's what I don't like about talking. Here's what I don't like about this right now. Ed Ingram, he needed to be out there last night. Okay, fine. All the attention is going to be on him, 67. I get it. You should sign Dalton Reisner. But you know who else should have been out there? Ezra Cleveland. I don't give a damn that he's a veteran. He was awful last year. He needs the snaps just as much as Ed Ingram did last night. So, in a way, Cleveland is going to get a pass because he wasn't out there. So let's say you sign Dalton Risner because, oh my God, Ed Ingram was just awful. He's going to play right guard. Well, then when the regular season starts, we're going to see Ezra Cleveland, presumably until I see differently, we're going to see him pick up where he left off last year as one of the worst guards in the league. This offensive line, I'm just so tired of talking about it. Not even just the first string offensive line, but you saw the difference between the third string O-line of the Vikings, between them and the Seahawks. It was like night and day. You got to take this thing seriously. Until you do, man, you can compete. You have so much talent, but you have to build. If you're going to build a contending, winning team, you have to build it in the trenches, and we haven't done that. Not effectively. And we can say, well, you know what, Ed Ingram or Ezra Cleveland, second round pick. Ed Ingram, he was, a second round pick? Oh my goodness. We're investing high picks. It doesn't matter. When we see the games out there, when they're going up against the best interior defensive lines in the league, we're not saying, well, there's a second round pick out there. We're saying, oh, that's Ezra Cleveland. And he's awful. Can we please get better? Yes, they invested a second round pick and it didn't work. You need to get better. All right, I'm done. Rant over with.